we start the formal agenda, I just want to apologize to the people online that you aren't going to be able to partake in the fruit from Cositas Deliciosas and the cake from J&J. But at the end of the meeting, if you are so inclined, you can come on down and enjoy a piece. And then if you want to learn about an opportunity to win a 65-inch LG television and how we could possibly raffle that off with all the proceeds going to the management team, you got to stay to the at least until the announcements at the meeting. More about that to come. Okay, with those two things said, welcome everybody online, welcome everybody in the room. My name is Lee Cruz. I'm co-chair of the management team. I'll be running the meeting this evening. This is our meeting for Thursday, December 7th. We're starting at 6:05 in person here at the library, and with folks online, about the same number of people online as in the room, which is great, about 40 in total. Great. So you have all the information on the agenda about how to join us online and via the phone. If you think somebody should be here who isn't, just text them that information about how they can join us. Make sure that your mics are on mute if you're online and you're not the one that's speaking. Use the chat box to give us your questions, and also use the chat to introduce yourself if you have not done so already. I'm going to try to put the chat up right next door, right there, so people will be able to see. And then as people speak, I'll make that person big so everyone can see them. Okay, meeting call to order. Madam Secretary, do the roll call of the board.
Okay, Lee.
Present.
Liz. Present. Gina. Here. Abby. Here. Adam.
Present.
And myself, of course, Christina, present. Thank you.
Okay. And then the people who are online are introducing themselves in the chat box. Mr. Vice Chair, do we have quorum?
We do.
Okay, wonderful. So then, having established quorum, we're going to call for the minutes to be approved. Is that correct?
Yes, as long as nobody has any concerns. Now is their chance to air concerns. If nobody has any, they are approved.
Okay, so we have sent you the minutes from last month's meeting. They were in the same email that brought you the agenda. Did anyone see anything in the minutes from last month's meeting that they would like to have changed, adjusted, anything like that? I see no one in the room raising their hand. I see no one online raising their hand. The minutes are approved. Thank you, everyone. Okay, then we're going to move from that to the financial report. Madam Treasurer.
The ending balance in October was $3,961.26. In November, there was one expenditure that was a $300 donation for the Thanksgiving luncheon at Atwater Center, which leaves us with a November ending balance of $3,661.26.
Thank you very much. And are there any questions about the financial report? I see no questions in the room. Any questions online? No questions online. Then we'll consider the report, the financial report, accepted. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to turn it over to Lieutenant Fumiati from the New Haven Police Department. Please.
In the flesh.
In the flesh.
Spent a lot of time on Zoom today.
You don't say. Tell me about it.
Good evening, everyone. I will keep my remarks brief. I wanted to introduce you to some new officers. I was going to make a joke and have Officer Rodriguez come do this presentation, but I figured I would save him the embarrassment of having to do that. So I have Officers Rodriguez, Rivera, and Buchetti. All three of them are newer officers to the district. They've been working their butts off out here for us, and so I just wanted you all to meet them. I'll probably have them come over and just wave, I suppose, to the Zoom camera here. But everyone in person will be able to meet them, and they'll be out in Fairhaven quite a bit. I also have Sergeant Ferranti here today to talk about the PAL program, which we'll get to in a minute, and all of the awesome things that Sergeant Ferranti and the SROs are doing with PAL, the Police Activity League across the city of New Haven. So the last 30 days in Fairhaven, the biggest event that we had was a homicide, as I'm sure everyone's aware of now. It seems like forever ago. Officers responded to the area of Grand and East Pearl for a report of gunshots. Callers reported that they thought it was an automatic gunfire. On November 14th, just after 4:45 p.m., officers responded, and we located a 29-year-old male, Shaquille Pearson, unfortunately, was deceased as a result of multiple gunshot wounds. Officers were quickly able to develop a suspect and identify a vehicle due to some of our recent technology upgrades around the city. Detectives later on that night engaged that vehicle in a pursuit. Were able to deflate all the tires and recover some evidence. The vehicle, unfortunately, the officers were unable to apprehend any offenders in that. That investigation is ongoing, and so we've had an increase of presence, as you all know. We are constantly in and around the Grand Cafe area, Grand and Atwater, conducting proactive motor vehicle stops and stopping suspicious persons around that area. Officers have engaged in a number of different stops that have yielded arrests for narcotics, not just marijuana. Most recently, officers Rivera and Rodriguez stopped an individual who they know to be selling in that area with 126 ecstasy pills and $1,000 cash. Also in the last month, Alder Miller, a number of community members were able to get a meeting with the state attorney's office and the judge in charge of 121 Elm Street, which is our courthouse that presides over New Haven. I believe it's New Haven County, but specifically New Haven City is all we're concerned with. And during that meeting, we were able to discuss a number of different avenues on which court is going to assist us in our enforcement efforts in that area. And so we're pretty happy to see that that is moving forward. And hopefully we'll be able to hold some of the individuals that are out there committing crime on the regular at Grand and Atwater accountable for their actions. Officers continue to monitor our hotspots. We know about Grand and Poplar, Berry and Chatham. Recently, some of the issues have popped up at James and Woolsey with some interesting drug dealing and gunfire incidents. And so we're aware of them, but if you see people doing suspicious things, let us know. You can text me or email me anytime. My email's on the side of the, on the agenda. My phone number is out there as well all the time, 475-331-3180. You can send me a picture, text me. We routinely address any of those issues that come about. I wanted to also talk about the increase. Fairhaven actually saw a decrease, but as all of you know, because I'm aware of a little bit more aware of East Shore's crime trends now. I'm not sure if all of you have heard about it, but I also am the district manager of East Shore now as well. And so there should be another lieutenant standing next to me doing that responsibility, but I guess I will just do that for now. So I'm doing double duty in East Shore and Fairhaven. I'm up for the challenge. It's been a good month so far. What the heck, why not? And so I appreciate all of your patience with me, as I'm not as able to respond as fast as I usually am able to, but I'm getting the hang of it, and it's like riding a bike, so I'll figure it out. I'm learning a lot about the next door district and working with some of those officers. Interestingly enough, a lot of the officers are interested in coming to Fairhaven to do some police work, and so that may be in the future in the next couple of weeks. I'm happy to answer any questions about those responsibilities, or if any of you have any concerns, also happy to answer any questions around that. I think the last thing I wanted to talk about was our trends. Generally, our trends, the last couple of weeks outside of the homicide have been very good in Fairhaven. In 2 weeks to have, we have 5 stolen cars. What's interesting about the stolen cars is that all of them are recovered generally within a 24-hour period. Some of them are recovered in the same day. It is my theory and a number of other officers in the department's theory that there's about 7 to 10 juveniles that are really wreaking havoc on the city of New Haven with stolen cars. East Shore, by example, last week had 8 stolen cars. Fairhaven in 2 weeks had 5. And so East Shore is experiencing that a little bit more than Fairhaven is. But just so you're all aware of it, I don't plan on reporting about East Shore on the regular, but I think we're so close in proximity that that is a consistent issue for us. Hyundais and Kias mostly. What's interesting though is there's a couple of other cars, as everyone can guess, if you've been to management team meetings for a while, as the weather gets colder, people leave their cars running when they run into the store. So I can't emphasize enough, please, even if you think you're running in for 2 seconds, just turn the car off. I know it's inconvenient to come back to a cold car, but it's even more inconvenient to come back to no car. And so if you can just leave your car, turn your cars off. There were a few, probably about 2 or 3 out of the 12 or so motor vehicle thefts between the 2 districts where people left their cars running and ran into a store real quick to come out to the car missing. That's all I have as far as a report goes for you all. If anybody has any questions, I certainly can field those questions. Yeah, Robbie.
Lieutenant, do you know anything that's going on with, T-Off used to be what's happening in there? I see a guy going in there tonight, I heard they doing work in there and stuff, do you know anything about it?
I've seen them doing work in there. I couldn't tell you. I believe the gentleman who was here, the retired firefighter, is the individual who's still doing work on the inside. I think he presented to the management team at one point. I have not heard any updates since that though.
Okay, thank you.
My quick question, just to address the fact that you'll be looking over East Shore as well, is could you speak a little bit to how that'll affect Fairhaven District Policing?
So the officers stay the same. My message to the East Shore, to both management teams, the Quinnipiac management team and the East Shore or the Cove management team, but that the officers stay the same. And so honestly, the 3 officers that you have there are fantastic officers. They're not going anywhere. And so the responsibilities are more administrative on the police department side, where I'm just supervising more officers and responsible for reviewing and reporting on crime data and trends out in East Shore as well.
Got it.
So it's really just more work for me.
Yeah.
Not really anything for you all as far as police presence is concerned. I would say the increase in those services at all.
Okay.
Any questions online?
Yeah, I believe Dennis had one.
Yeah, Lieutenant, the demographics for East Shore, from the Morris Cove area to how far?
So now East Shore, the policing district is from the tip of the sand Lighthouse Point Park all the way to the North Haven border as far as New Haven goes. And so pretty much everything east of I-91 would be under my purview now. 30% of police calls for service occur in that area, sir.
And again, that's, you said right to the North Haven border area.
Yes, sir.
Wow, okay, thank you.
Any other questions online, Adam?
I see none. I just wanted to raise that there is another officer, Toussaint, who appears to be online, but in a hospital, so may not be able to share.
Oh, great. Officer Toussaint is also a new officer in Fairhaven, and so I'd asked him to join. He's guarding a prisoner in the hospital right now. So we're not going to have him zoom in with the prisoner there, but we will, he still wanted to be a part of the introduction tonight. So thank you very much for bringing him up. I forgot that he was here.
And there's a question in the room.
Yes, sir.
Oh, how does New Haven allocate the police resources by ward? Is it by the crime level of each ward, or the demographics of the ward, or the size of the ward, or how do they come up with the staffing for each?
So it's done by police and district, and so it's generally based on calls for service within that particular area.
So the more calls a district gets, the more police officers they get?
You could say that to a degree, yes.
Oh, okay. And I was just wondering what the logic is behind it.
Yeah, so we have a few mechanisms that we look at as far as police need go or police service goes. Generally, the areas that have higher call volumes have more officers, just because it's we need more officers to handle those calls for service.
Thank you.
Yep.
Did you want to just quickly introduce each other?
Sure, if you guys just want to come and smile and wave to everybody online, I guess. Don't feel free to. I mean, you don't have to ask any questions or answer any questions or anything.
Just say hello to folks that have been that way. They'll see that. Just say your name.
Rivera.
Officer Pichetti.
Officer Rodriguez. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Welcome to the
We'll ask we'll ask the secretary to take the numbers of each of the police officers. And then we'll put those in the minutes.
Sorry, I'm to go now. We can talk later.
That's
Is that okay?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Great, thank you.
And we can always jump back.
Oh, sorry, I said no, my paperwork here, sorry.
Come on in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and everyone on Zoom. I do talk a little bit more than the officer, so bear with me, and I talk fast, so if you need to slow me down, just let me know. So I've been an officer for 19 years. I know I look young. The kids say the same thing. I get it. Don't worry about it. I've been a sergeant for 9 years. I'm currently in charge of youth services, which is our school resource officers and our PAL program. Why I'm here, and thank you, Lieutenant Fumiati, for inviting me here, is obviously talk about PAL. I hope everybody here knows about PAL. If you don't, that's an unfortunate thing, but you will know about PAL today. And I promise you, you're going to know about us in the future and what we have plans on doing. So PAL, the first misconception is a lot of people think that it's Police Athletics League. PAL actually stands for Police Activity League. What our simple mission is what we try to say is we try to create options and opportunities for the community that we serve. 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago, all we were was a summer camp. That was a great summer camp. We run a 5-week summer camp. It's out of Wilbur Cross. We do everything and anything for the kids. Since then, we've expanded quicker and faster than I even thought we would. We have about 9 programs going on. I left business cards right there that have our website on there, newhavenpal.com. It's got all our social media accounts on there. It has my phone number on there. And it just, it's a great way to get in contact with us. We have flag football, spring and fall going on. We actually take the kids to Waterbury. We're playing Waterbury Pals League. We do jujitsu. We have that going around year round. We do boxing. We have basketball clinics in the fall and the spring. We obviously do our summer camp. We started a chess club. We just actually partnered with the New York Rangers. So we're bringing hockey to here. And what's crazy and super awesome is the registration's opened on Friday. And within 20 minutes, everything was filled. So 80 kids are going to be participating. We haven't even told the families yet that the Rangers are actually going to be applying all the equipment to the kids for free. So which is great. So I love PAL. I could talk about it forever. I love what I do. So 19 years ago, I tell this story all the time. 19 years ago, I sat down in front of the Board of Police Commissioners and they ask you, why do you want to be a police officer? And I think everybody says the same thing and they mean it is you want to help people and you want to make a difference. I tell every meeting that I go to, I tell everybody that I have the best position in the police department. I come to work every day, love what I do. I get to wear this cool swag. I know he's a little upset. I get to wear my PAL swag, but I really truly feel like I'm coming to work and I'm making a difference and I'm helping people. I say we're everything and anything. I'm not saying we're going to save everybody, but we are an option and an opportunity for families in the community. Everything we do, and I'm so proud of it, is a police officer run program. So we figure out a way to manage all these programs and make it work. Every big PAL eventually, I talk about it all the time. Chief says I have to slow down. We are going to get a building eventually. My dream, or what I know is going to happen, is we're going to have a central hub where we'll be able to run all these programs. I haven't figured that out yet, but it's going to happen. I will answer any questions, and I'm sure I forgot a million things. I will come here whenever you want. We're doing letters with Santa. So Simple Idea was the greatest thing ever. PAL got to partner with Santa Claus. We have 2 magical mailboxes that came from the North Pole. It was in the lobby of the police department, and 1 at 200 Wintergreen. We've gotten over a little under 100 letters from kids writing to Santa Claus. Santa has promised and already sent letters to some of these kids, and they're adorable, they're funny, they're heartbreaking, and it was more than what I expected. But it makes you take for granted like what a life we have, right? And there's nothing better than seeing life through the eyes of a child. So not only is Santa writing them a letter, but now I guaranteed, I promise you, I wish I took pictures of my office. Santa was nice enough to give us, we have presents for every child that wrote to us. We have multiple presents for every child that wrote to us, and we will be delivering those presents in the next couple of weeks. It's amazing. We have a baking event coming up December 16th over at the Mary Wade home that Lieutenant Fumiati was nice enough to set up. We are figuring out ways to create activities and events for kids. We're figuring out ways, and eventually, I hope in 6 months or I hope in a year, I get to come back here. I'll come back here every meeting and talk about it. But I'm creating a digital diagram, and I'm creating. I can sit here and talk about it, but until you see the memories and what we create with these kids, I can't put it into words, but it is the most fulfilling thing that I've done. I'm gonna stop there.
No, look, just want to make sure there's a question, Q&A. Anybody have any, no, this is all great.
I can talk forever. I apologize.
Any questions in the room? Yes, there's a question in the back.
Yes, ma'am.
What ages do you work with?
I should have said that. I apologize. Well, so originally we're 8 to 17 years old, but with hockey, we finally hit our youngest age group, which started at 5. So, but every other program is typically geared from 8 to 17.
Can you spell your name for the record for me?
Sure, it's F as in Frank,
Mhm,
ERRANCE.
beautiful, thank you so much.
Okay, any questions online? Okay, seeing none, I thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We'll sure
Thank
we'll
you.
be talking.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, somebody left their keys up here. We're going to now give an opportunity for Carmen Mendez. Carmen is our LCI initiatives representative. Would you please go ahead and unmute yourself and give us your report, and we're gonna pin you so people will be able to see your face.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carmen Mendez, and in the chat room, I left my telephone number if you want to call me anytime privately to discuss issues regarding the neighborhood. Please feel free to call me. This month, I will not bore you with our sweeps. The sweeps that I reported on the last couple of months are still going on in different areas of Fairhaven, and they will continue through the winter. It's a little bit more challenging because the weather's so cold. However, we intend on walking every street in Fairhaven and look at every house in Fairhaven. For November, let me just give you a status report for November. I have 4 outstanding civil citations that are accumulating fines. One is a complete, if you ever wanted to see a real blighted house, it's vacant. If you ever wanted to see what real blight is, please visit 580 Ferry Street. 580 Ferry Street. If you're looking at, if you have ever thought to yourself, what is blight? Go to that house. The other house that's also vacant is 379-381 Ferry Street. They've both gotten citations. One of them got a citation on February 22nd, 2023, and it's still open. The status is still open, so we might end up foreclosing on that particular lien. I'm not sure what we're gonna do. We have to discuss that with legal. But that's been a long time, accumulating fines. Open cases with notice of violations, there are 2. One important area is the 302-304 Exchange Street. It's a corner house. I am currently working with Fannie Mae on this property. They've already put up a new roof and cleaned up the front, the back, and the side yards. They have also reboarded the windows and doors. They do not want any notices. They just want to be able to talk to me and get things done. I've currently asked that they either fix or demolish the dilapidated garage. They responded that they would demolish that garage. And I'll keep you updated as this project evolves. We closed 2 projects. We closed 2 cases completely. We have them off our books. I also went with the housing code inspectors. This was just a mini sweep to Lloyd Street, and we got 6 properties there. And all of those particular houses will receive a housing code violation letter. Now, the mini neighborhood sweep on Exchange Street, I did that with the resident on Exchange Street. He's very interested in making sure that things don't fall apart there. And I speak with him frequently. So we went out and we inspected a couple of blocks, side to side, that kind of stuff. And we came up with 11 properties that were subject to violation. So all of those properties will receive a notice of violation within the next several days. And next week, our housing code inspector and I will conduct another full sweep of Ferry Street. Things always change on Ferry Street. You'd be surprised, 1 minute, one place is terrible, the next minute it's clean, you think you've got it all wrapped up, only to come back and see that it's a problem again. So we intend on keeping our nose to the grindstone up on Ferry Street. We of course will continue to work on streets like Lombard, Grand Avenue, Chapel, the major streets, but we also do the little side streets as well. And if you have an idea as to where you would want me to go, let me know, and I will go with you, whichever you'd like.
Thank you, Carmen. Do we have any questions in the room? Any questions of Carmen, LCI? Any questions online?
Yeah, we have a question in the room.
Oh, we have a question in the room. Hold on, if you have a question online, go ahead with your question.
Oh, hi, Carmen. Question, graffiti, is there an action plan for dealing with graffiti in our area? Or is it just like when it can be dealt with, it will be dealt with?
No, let me tell you what's going to happen. Actually, I had a meeting scheduled with Eric Gonzalez to go through Grand Avenue. I have 20 open graffiti issues to deal with on C-Click Fix specifically. River Street is one.
Yes.
We've got a lot on Grand Avenue. So Eric and I were going to, tomorrow morning, we were going to go down Grand Avenue. He was going to go in with me and let people know. I would let people know that they're responsible for, the building owner is responsible for the removal of the graffiti. And that if they didn't remove it within a reasonable amount of time, I'd give them 10 days. If they didn't remove it, I then would give them a notice of violation. They would then have 10 more days, and if they didn't clean it up then they would be subject to a civil citation, which is at $100 a day. Unfortunately, I can't go with him tomorrow, so we're scheduling for some time next week, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. But those are not forgotten, and people will get their notices. And I suspect that most people will complain, it's cold, I can't do it, this, that, and the other, but the notices will all go out. And if by, let's say, mid-April or end of April, they haven't dealt with it, then they get a citation.
Okay, thank you, Carmen. Any other questions in the room? Any questions online? Seeing none, thank you, Carmen, for your report. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Now we're going to just move on to a reminder that once a quarter, we do get a report from J1 Carter, our Civilian Review Board representative. It is not that month, but we always remind people that if you have a concern about the way you or anyone else has been treated by the police, J1 Carter, his email address is on the agenda. That's the person you go to. With that announcement done, we're going to move on to economic development and for an update, Kathleen, are you online with us?
Hi, I'm online. Yes, I'm so sorry I couldn't be there in person.
No problem. Later, just pin you. There you go.
So I don't really have an update. So I'm glad to take questions or put any information in the chat, and I certainly don't want to take up a lot of time.
Okay. We have an Alder in the room that does have some information that you may then want to fill in or anything like that. So Alder Miller, you want to tell us a little bit? If you go right there, people will see you and I'll.
So
Okay.
I can report that the NEOC grant that was awarded to Grand Avenue Special Services District, the contracts and stuff are almost all finalized. And at the Grand Avenue Special Services District meeting last night, the board voted to hire Eric Gonzalez as the full-time street ambassador with those dollars. So starting in the next week or so, you will see him now working full-time on the avenue, dealing with things like graffiti. So I think that will be a major help for the businesses on Grand Avenue and by extension for all of us. That grant also comes with dollars to do projects like power washing of the streets, power washing of the garbage cans, a better garbage management system, more hours for Emerge to do more cleaning and also to change their system. So they're like pulling a garbage can instead of a big plastic bag and other things like that. They're going to start, for the property owners who can't or won't remove their graffiti, they'll just start painting it over. It'll be a service to the businesses. They bought Christmas lights, so all the businesses are going to receive Christmas lights and be encouraged to decorate their windows. So there's a lot going on with those dollars. I think will be really helpful to everybody.
Thank you.
So sorry, didn't want to steal your thunder, Kathleen, but I just want to make sure that people know.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions about anything that has been said about economic development or Kathleen, if anything was said that prompts anything for you, then you can tell us that. But are there any questions regarding economic development? I don't see any online. I don't see any in the room. Oh, I see one in the room.
How many ambassadors are there gonna be in Fairhaven?
There'll be one full-time
Okay.
and we'll have sort of support from Town Green downtown to come down for special projects or special needs.
So they
to help
have
to
one
support.
person
So
going up and down. cleaning.
one full-time who'll be, this isn't cleaning, this is somebody just walking, talking to the businesses,
Okay.
dealing with loitering, developing relationships, helping to identify issues, liaising with the police, liaising with LCI, just really looking after Grand Avenue as his full-time job. Then the Emerge, the people who actually clean, we have 4 people doing that. And there'll also be better management of them because they've just been doing it without anybody really
Right.
observing what they're doing. So we think we'll see a higher quality of service with him in place as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions in the room?
I just want to add what about the graffiti, just to manage expectations. In the past, because Town Green and the other SSDs do the same work as LCI, but the SSD needed to get a permission from the property owner, and sometimes that could take a little bit of time. So I don't want anybody to think that they see graffiti and then the next day it can be removed, because it's possible that the SSD needs to get that approval from the property owner. Carmen, is that something that LCI has to do? Or is it just an SSD, or is there something maybe you can assist with?
Well, on our end, it's an enforcement issue. So I would go out, inspect it, and tell the person that the property owner, and if the property, let the tenant know, but if the property owner is not there, write to the property owner that they must remove the graffiti from the wall or whatever. The city will not do that for private property. We used to have a company that we had hired to do work for the city, and we had allowed people to pin on to kind of that contract and take care of their own graffiti. But it's really, our job is to really enforce the rules. And things do take time. There's always something. Some bricks are for example, there are some bricks you can't power wash them because they'll fall apart, or they're historic. There are all sorts of things that you have to consider when you do anti-graffiti stuff. You don't want to create a new panel for people to re-graffiti. We have a bridge that we cleaned up 3 or 4 times. Every time we cleaned it up, the next day it would be filled with graffiti. That was on East Street. And we basically gave up. We stopped removing the graffiti because all we were doing was providing canvases for people to write on. So anyway, did that answer your question, or was your question deeper than that?
No, that's perfect. Thank you.
I can just add that's already been discussed with regard to Grand Avenue, because it's one of the benefits of working with Town Green is they have a protocol, they already have a form that we just can adapt. So I believe Eric has already started getting permission from property owners, and even has a system for like having them buy a can of paint that he would then keep. So we're definitely not going to be giving up if we have repeated instances. We'll get cameras, we'll find the people who are doing it, and we'll try to take enforcement. So there's been a lot of thought into how this works practically, which is good.
Any other questions? I don't see any questions online. I don't see any questions in the room. I'll just add, take chair's prerogative and add a little bit of information related to this, related to graffiti. We now have approximately 18 murals in New Haven. If you haven't noticed, they're beautiful. We have 3 of the largest murals in New Haven. And in June, I'm going to be leading a tour for the Festival of Arts and Ideas on bicycle of all the murals. We're also going to be cataloging where murals are and walls where there should be a mural, there could be a mural. And we're going to be working with artists to try to figure out how to make that happen. So what's the relevance to this? If you have someone who's tagging because they are trying to express themselves artistically, we want to embrace that person and have them work with an artist and make more beautiful murals. If we're having tagging because of drugs and people are identifying a place where they sell drugs or a gang, that's a totally different issue. We're going to be obviously working with the police on that. Everywhere where a mural is put up, there's a coating that you can put on it. So if someone comes and tags on it, it's relatively easy to clean it up compared to a wall that hasn't been prepared. So that's the connection here. We're going to take what has been a liability and we're going to turn it into an asset. And this is going to start in June of 2024, in addition to the work that Eric is doing. Okay, with that said, we're going to then move on. Thank you very much, Kathleen. Thank you, Carmen, for participating. Thank you, Alder Miller. The next part of our agenda is about our action plan, our agenda for ourselves. And the first section of that has to do with responsive and transparent government. And at the request of Dennis Silvestri, maybe 2 months ago, we have prepared to talk to you this evening about the redistricting, how some of the lines in our wards have changed. And probably the most expert person on that in our room is the only alder that's here, which is Alder Miller. So Adam, could you possibly throw a map up? Wonderful. So Alder Miller.
Okay, so I don't know exactly what the question is. I can explain
can you enlarge Fairhaven?
the process.
It's to make people aware of the changes so that they know there might be changes where they vote. That's the main focus.
So all of the changes were enforced for the last election. So wherever you voted for your last election is your new ward. The city is required every 10 years to look at all of the numbers and to redistrict if needed, as was needed in this case. In Fairhaven, it actually wasn't needed, but we made a few changes anyway. Really the only change in Fairhaven was a significant part of Ward 8, which was River Street and included Martinez School. It used to be both Martinez School, which is where you voted for Ward 16, and all of River Street used to actually be Ward 8. So you used to vote for Ward 16 in Ward 8, only in New Haven. Now all of River Street and the area around Martinez School is in Ward 16. So it made Ward 16 geographically larger, but the some number of people is the same. Every ward is about 4,500 residents. So we have 6. Yes, Aaron Good is the expert on all things voting and redistricting. He should be doing this presentation for you, not me. So jump in, Aaron, if you've got anything to add. But Fairhaven, just the peninsula, has 6 different wards, which is something that I tried to address in the redistricting process completely unsuccessfully. Because it doesn't make any sense. It's too many wards and they're not particularly coherent. But we have Ward 14, which is what I represent, which includes part of the other side of Quinnipiac River. We have Ward 16, which is the other side of Ferry Street, which now includes also River Street. Ward 15 to the north, which Frank will soon represent. And we have above Frank a little bit of Ward 10. And that ward is mostly East Rock. That's Anafesta. And then to the left, is Ward 9, which is what Caroline will represent, Claudia Herrera represents now, which is actually quite a bit of Fairhaven. About half of the ward is Fairhaven. And historically, we've had an alder from East Rock representing that area. So it's been really nice to have Claudia and also really nice to have Caroline, who, although she lives in East Rock, is very engaged out here. And then that little bit below Ward 9 is Ward 8. So there's only a small portion of Ward 8 now in Fairhaven. And you just see how, like, that makes no sense. It's like, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
But that's what we've got.
I will ask the secretary to make note of the website that Aaron Good has added, the portal dir.ct.gov, so that people can look up their address and see where it is they vote. And Aaron, can you tell us, is that a permanent place that whenever people move, they can just go to that site and put their address in and it tells them where they vote?
Yes, that's correct. It's also a very useful site because it allows you to track your absentee ballot if you happen to vote absentee.
There you go, folks. That's the info. Any questions about this online first? Raise your hand. Oh, I
Did
think
I answer your
Sarah.
questions, Dennis?
You did. I looked at his email.
Okay. dir.ct.
I think Dennis, correct us if we're wrong.
That's not coming.
Is this, oh no, that's mine.
What is the
That's mine.
website?
Okay, any questions? I don't see any questions online. Any questions in the room?
Portal dir.ct.gov. Thank you, Carmen.
Okay, seeing none, we're gonna go ahead and, oh, there is a question in the room.
Sorry, I have a lot of questions tonight.
Yeah.
For Sarah, quick question, there's that little part of 8 that's in Fairhaven, but that little part of 8 historically has a lot of issues. Because Lloyd Street goes right over there at Grand Avenue, and there's a liquor store there that usually has a lot of issues going around it. Now, since it's in Ward 8, does the alder from Ward 8, since it's so far away from their central area, deal with those things? Or is that something that you have to work on with Ward 8? Or, I'm just saying, it's a sensitive area and it got pushed to that, to Ward 8 versus staying here where we can address it.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I'll say in general, the reason why we tried to make changes to the lines is for exactly that reason. It's difficult to solve problems when you're, as an alder. It's hard enough to solve problems when you have a pretty coherent district, but when you have like a little bit of one neighborhood, a little bit of another neighborhood, it just becomes almost impossible. I don't know what the specific issues are. I don't know the package store in that little bit of Ward 8, but we can talk about that and I can try to understand.
I know you were talking about
Yeah.
Renton.
Mhm.
All right, talk about that.
that's in Ward
For
16.
the previous meeting, but I know there's been issues at Arroyo's, I think it's called, liquor store too, and that whole area there at Lloyd and Grand.
Okay, we're getting away from the topic. Let's have a conversation.
Your point well taken.
Yeah.
That point has been, like, a lot of people agree with you. The alders made the decision about it, and the other alders from Fairhaven didn't want to make changes. That's why we're stuck with what we have. Okay.
Okay, so Lieutenant Fumiani, you had something to say about this issue?
Yes, there've been issues at Grand and Lyle with drugs in the past, drugs and violence.
But still, unfortunately,
Yeah.
So there were issues with drugs and violence at Grand and Lloyd previous years, especially summertime a couple of years ago. And I've worked with all the people to deal with some of those issues there. And so it's not out of the realm of possibility, though I think it's pretty impractical to have someone go that far and cover that much area. Ward 8, I'd say, is one of the more complex wards in the city. So
There'll be opportunity to continue the conversation directly. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on in the interest of time. And the next area of concern is generally issues having to do with the environment and immigration. And in that category, we only have one presenter tonight, and that's John from Circa. John, are you online with us?
Hey Lee, yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep. And I'm gonna just pin you so that people can see who you are. Please go ahead and
All right,
mind, 10 minutes, including questions.
you got it.
Okay, thanks.
So thanks, Lee. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight. But I wanted to come back and talk to you all about this project that we've been working on with the community in Fairhaven. So again, my name is John Trzynski. I'm with Circa, which is a research institute at UConn, and we've been focusing on climate change. And we've been doing this study in Fairhaven focused on climate-induced flooding and the effects of extreme heat in Fairhaven, with the goal of coming up with some actions and some projects that the city and the community can take and move forward. So I wanted to just give a quick update that this phase of the study is kind of coming to a close, and we have a final report that is pretty exhaustive and has all of the analysis and maps and things that were developed. There's a link to it here, and I'll put the link to the report in the chat. It is a draft report, so if folks want to take a look at it, and if there's any comments or concerns, we can certainly address those. I just wanted to talk about a specific action that was identified in the project, but just as a reminder, these were some of the focus areas that came out of the study, and really looked at different aspects of the neighborhood that each have, unique flood risks. So for instance, the area around River Street and in the southern part of the neighborhood has a, certain type of flood risk, and the underpasses at Humphrey Street and near I-91, the John Murphy Drive area. So the report has recommendations for all of these different areas, and sort of next steps that the city and the neighborhood can take to, develop projects in these areas. And then there were two specific areas where they developed a concept plan, and our team presented in September at the CMT meeting, and some of the concepts that came out of that. So for folks that were here for at that meeting, you'll remember some of the concepts, but there's a lot more details in the report. But tonight I wanted to kind of focus on one recommendation in particular that we had, which was for Fairhaven to designate something called a resilience hub, or possibly a couple of sites that would be resilience hubs. And we came to this recommendation because we were, in particular at the beginning, we were focused on some of the roadways and the bridges that get flooded, and the underpasses that get flooded in different types of storm events. And we wanted to see where what we call the resilient corridors are. So those are the areas that are outlined in the darker color there. So those roadways are the resilient roadways that, no matter what the storm conditions are, according to our analysis, are going to stay resilient in the future. And then we started to think about particular sites, locations where you could develop what's called the resilience hub, where people can access resources during a particular storm event. And this can support the emergency management activities in the city. And we had a discussion with New Haven Emergency Management Director Rick Fontana. And so we are recommending that Fairhaven designate one or more of these sites, potentially. The ones that were outlined here in yellow, these were ones that the consultant team identified as possible sites. But, that I think is still pretty up in the air as to what you all would be interested in. So I wanted to just go quickly talk about what is a resilience hub. This is an idea of, it's a community trusted site, and it's basically a place that can provide support to the residents in the community, both during a storm event, after a storm event, in the recovery phase, and then even just in normal operations, to help the community get more prepared over time. And it's a concept that's being developed in other parts of the country, and we've seen a few of these in places like Baltimore and DC and Los Angeles, and we think that this is a good idea in Connecticut, and we're trying to help to move this forward in Connecticut. So they can take many different forms, but they're community trusted sites and facilities where people are already accessing services. Fairhaven Library, for instance, would make a great resilience hub, in this context. And so they can do lots of different things. During a storm event, if the power goes out, they can have backup power in the form of solar and battery installation, or even in some cases, there's things called microgrids. In the Parkville section of Hartford, there's something called a microgrid that can actually island off from the grid during a power outage. And it's connected to a local school and a senior center and a gas station, and just make sure that those places continue to have power during an outage and can provide services. And then after an event, they can help residents in the recovery phase, getting access to FEMA flood insurance. Anybody who's been through that process, there's so much paperwork and it's complicated. So a hub can have staff that are trained to help the residents through that recovery process. And then the things that a hub could do over time, they can provide technical assistance to residents. They can improve the communication between the community and different parts of the city government in some cases, although you're already doing a lot of that with the CMT. But there's lots of different opportunities to build programs that are sort of resilience focused and are coordinated with other types of programs. I see there's a hand up, but let me just quickly go through the rest of these and then I can answer any questions. So some possible needs that we had identified in the study, possible additional cooling centers or spaces where people can access, make sure that there's clean air. We saw this past summer when the wildfires in Canada caused a prolonged air quality event. So a hub could provide something like that. Again, all the things that I mentioned, assistance with different types of grants and technical assistance. But this is something really that the community could lead and develop, and folks like myself and Yukon and Circa would be available to assist the community in some parts of it. So we are developing a proposal for NOAA, and NOAA is one of those big federal agencies, the National Weather Services and NOAA and a bunch of other programs. So they have this big grant program right now. It's called the NOAA Climate Resilience Regional Challenge. And there's a number of different places in Connecticut where we're seeing some interest in this, where we think it's a good idea. So we're developing a proposal, and essentially I wanted to bring this to you all and discuss the possibility of Fairhaven participating in this proposal. It's something we're going to be developing over the next couple of months. So we could discuss maybe at a later meeting or the next meeting the idea of a letter of support or some other support if we can, if you're interested in being part of it. So I think that's it. I'll stop there. I'm sure there's a lot of questions about this. So fire away.
Any questions in the room? I don't see any questions. Is there a question online?
Yes, Sally.
Hi, thanks. Thank you, John. You mentioned the library as possibly being one of these sites, and if there's no power, both the upper level and lower level of the library wouldn't have access for anyone that can't do stairs, essentially. So in your planning and in your protocol for sites, how are you dealing with access for people with disabilities?
So yeah, that's a good question. I think one of the things that is pretty common amongst other places that have tried to do the resilience hub is to make sure that there is backup power, like pretty robust backup power. And there's a lot of federal programs and grants available to help develop either things like microgrids or solar and battery installations that can help to keep the power on. So I think that's a key thing, would be to try to set up, if it was the library, for instance, really designing a system that could provide backup power for an extended period of time. So that would be the first thing. And then I think the process of co-developing the services of the hub would be something that we would expect that the community would be taking a lead role in that and figuring out, how can we make sure that we're meeting the needs of all the residents who might be accessing the site, and including those who might, be impaired. So, I don't have an answer off the top of my head for that, but I would think that would be part of the design of the hub, would be to figure out what those needs are and make sure that you're able to provide them.
So I think that it's more than just what the need might be, but you may have, if you're going to be getting federal dollars, even if you're getting any kind of city money, you're going to have a requirement to make sure that the services are accessible. And if it's not planned from the beginning, it's likely that, the management team's great, but they may not be having as a priority access for people with disabilities. So I would just be interested to know down the road, and this is really for anyone on the management team or alders who might eventually be involved in approving this, what is going to be the plan for being sure that the planning stages include access for people with disabilities wherever the community wants to go. It's still going to be a requirement to make sure people with disabilities have access to this program. Thank you.
No, that's great feedback. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you, Sally. Maureen, and then you'll be our last questioner, and then we'll have to move on. Go ahead, Maureen.
Thank you. Couple quick things. One, I've been reading about microgrids. There's a couple of towns now in Massachusetts that are working on putting it together around their key centers and stuff. So that I have no mechanical or electrical background, but it sounds very intriguing and very helpful in this. And then on way down the line, thinking about education, whatever, I'm remembering in our household, we have what I call the go bag, things that I would just grab, our passports and things like that. But now I'm thinking it'd be good if I knew what I would need to file a claim for, damage to the house from some catastrophe and whatever. So that might be part of future public education. If you haven't been through it before, which I haven't, I can imagine I would be maybe out of luck, couldn't get to the information. So thank you, John.
Yeah, that's exactly the type of thing, not just thinking about the emergency, but like the long term, how do we help more people through like a place-based, a site that can do that sort of outreach, and really providing funding for the staff that would work at the hub. Ideally, folks from the community who would want to step up and take that role. The grant would provide funding for people to get paid to do that. And as well as some of the possible projects like the microgrids.
Okay, I'd like to wrap this section up by, first of all, thank you, John, for sharing this information with us. I'd like to ask you to consider yourself or someone you would designate who would reach out to our correspondence secretary with a suggestion of a date for a meeting that we could maybe put out to people and see, or maybe even a questionnaire with 2 or 3 dates, so that whoever is interested in going more deeply into this can then come here to the library as an example of a place to have this conversation. I know that I, for one, as someone who serves on the Governor's Council on Climate Change, I'm very interested, and I would definitely come to such a meeting. But if other people are interested, I see Sheila from Junta saying she'd be interested. So there's interest. It may not be a lot of us, or it may be a lot of us, but if you could do that as your next action, that'd be great. And our correspondence secretary is giving the thumbs up on that. Okay. So we're gonna move on in our agenda. Thank you, John. Okay, and so now we're going to move into the section of health, housing, and public safety. And in this category, we only have one presenter tonight, and that's Max. Max is here from Neighborhood Housing Services. Max, do your thing.
Hi everybody, my name is Max Tierstein. I actually work for the Office of Climate and Sustainability, the City of New Haven. And no problem. And I just wanted to introduce myself. I tend to talk loudly. I don't always talk very slowly though, so I'm going to try my best to keep it slow. So our office, if you're not already familiar with it, opened last December due to the American Rescue Plan. There was about $5 million set aside for our office, and there's a lot of these big bills that the Biden administration has signed into law now. So federal dollars are coming our way, and we see our office as sort of the through point for figuring out how to leverage those dollars to benefit the community as best as possible, both in the immediate term to address any immediate concerns while simultaneously trying to address the existential kind of concern of climate change. And as a part of that, I want to talk about one of our programs that I think is a good example of how we can try to do both. So this is I Heart My Home. It is administered through, let me slow down. It's administered through Neighborhood Housing Services of New Haven, which I'm sure many of us are already familiar with. Community-based nonprofit that's been doing housing advocacy and affordability work for decades now. They run I Heart My Home, which is an energy counseling service. Thank you so much, Lee, for that. Essentially, the idea behind I Heart My Home is they will provide you with an expert who can coach you on meeting any needs that you have for your home, whether your top priority is to lower your energy bills or it's to lower your home's carbon footprint or both. They can track down incentives that you're eligible for. They can ensure that you make it through waiting lists for state and federal programs. They can get you connected with contractors that you can trust, and they can review quotes from those contractors. It's a really amazing service, and it's completely free to participate. It's open to anybody of any income background. Part of the reason it's free is because of the Office of Climate and Sustainability's budget, which is going to support this. We also right now are doing a lot of outreach around this program. I right now am in my big wool sweater because I just came from canvassing in the Hill, but we've been in Fairhaven a lot as well. Frankie and Caroline have both joined us. Please shoot me an email. You can find my contact information at newhavenct.gov/climate. And let me know if you want to come join us. And if we come and knock on your door to promote the program, then say hello. We will be trying to hit as many houses as we can across New Haven. We've already hit close to 3,000. We have another 3,000 or 4,000 to go at least. So that's that program. One other quick program that I want to tell you about, or rather an opportunity, is so looking around, you guys might have noticed that there's a lot more EVs on the road. Some of you may have EVs of your own. EVs are electric vehicles. Thank you so much, Alderman. Yeah, electric cars. You probably have noticed there's a lot of them, and part of the reason for that is there are these big rebates and incentives that are now available to help all of us buy electric. And there's the federal rebate or incentive, which right now is a tax credit, but as of January, you can get $7,000, actually $7,500 off immediately at the point of sale. That'll start starting January 1st on an electric vehicle. And in addition, there's also the state cheaper program, which for most communities is $3,000 off of an electric vehicle, or up to $3,000, I should say. But in New Haven, because of our distressed municipality status, is actually $4,250, so $4,250, meaning that you can get up to $12,000 nearly off of an electric vehicle. So this is a really big step towards making them more affordable. Definitely worth considering next time you're in the market for a vehicle. And also, we're expecting to see even more electric vehicles in the future. So we at the Office of Climate and Sustainability are trying to plan for that now by we just applied for, or rather a few months ago, we applied for a big grant for a bunch of charging stations to be placed around the city. That money is still inbound, but we are looking for as much input as we can gather on where these charging stations should be placed, should we be awarded funding. So please, we have a survey that I have the QR code over there. There's also a paper copy there, and I can give you the link for the chat as well. It's bit.ly/New Haven EV. Please share your thoughts on where electric vehicle charging stations should be placed. And to clarify, this is still we're in the early stages of planning around this. We're not moving fast. So we welcome any comment that you have. And don't worry, you're not going to be totally shocked by a charging station in your backyard. Okay, well, that's all for me. Thank you, everybody.
I see a question online from Sally. Go ahead, Sally.
Thank you, and thanks for coming to the meeting, Max. I spent some time today trying to find out more about your program because we received a flyer at our house. I ended up getting no answer at the climate office, so I ended up calling the mayor's office, and they were not aware of your program. They referred me to the health department, so I spoke with someone at the health department, and they were not aware of the program. So I guess maybe what I'm suggesting is make sure you get something on the website and make sure there's somebody to answer the phone at your office because I assume that that's where this program was coming from. The flyer was pretty ambiguous, and neighborhood housing was buried in the logos. So it really only said that it was in collaboration with the city of New Haven and not much more information. So I just think as you go around the city, it might be helpful to be more specific on the flyer and make sure people at City Hall know what your program is. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that comment. Did you call the number on the flyer by any chance? Because that's the number. It's actually not administered by our office, so that's really the number.
So that's really, yeah, I did not call that number because I wanted to find out what the connection to the city was, right? So I wouldn't be calling a nonprofit to find out how the city was connected to this program. So I started assuming that it was the climate office, and that's why I started there. But I do think more people at City Hall need to know about this. So if they have other questions come to them, they can explain that it's really neighborhood housing. I did eventually call neighborhood housing and I didn't get a person there either. So
that is good to know. I definitely take your feedback. It's well taken on the flyer. It's not our flyer, but I will try to get it fixed. And thank you for all of your comments.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Is it just the two of you in the office?
It's just me and Steve Winter. So we'll try to get an answer back to you as quickly as we can. But sometimes if we're
maybe even a voice where you can leave a voicemail because it just kept ringing and eventually I got Verizon. So I don't, you may want to figure that out.
Well, yeah, I will let my boss know.
The point is taken. Any other questions online? Any other questions in the room? Okay, seeing none, we'll declare that concluded. And with that, we're gonna go on to Kirk, our librarian, who's gonna tell us about what's going on here at the library.
Hey everyone, the biggest news I have about the library is our people. We've now had a complete team here in, I believe it's about 11 months or something like that. But I'm proud to say that we have a new library technical assistant who started a few weeks ago, Melba Flores, who is a native of New Haven. She will be working on tech assistance when you have computer issues, and has got a great background with kids. And so, so come in, say hi to Melba. We also have been without a children's librarian for about 8 months or so now, and we are hoping to have a new staff member in place either next week or the week after that. And so we're pretty excited about being able to have a full team again and be able to do more outreach and more programming. We've done the best we could on youth programming in the last several months, a lot of self-paced things, but it's not quite the same as having someone who specializes in it. So come in soon and introduce yourself to some of our new team members. I had the privilege of spending some time the last couple of days over at the Yale School of Architecture. We learned earlier this semester that Yale students were studying our building as a class project this semester. And I got to see some of the amazing designs. And let me say it to you this way: we're not at this time pushing for a new library or a major renovation, but it's nice to have some amazing free consultants, shall we say, who have provided some ideas in the event that we do that. We've talked about, I don't know if this will happen or not, but we've talked about the possibility of having some of the plans by students and some of their really creative ideas get exhibited here in the library sometime in the near future. If that comes about, anyone will have an opportunity to just kind of see some of the imaginative ideas to either reimagine our space or what our space might look like in the future. So that was a lot of fun for us. Also, we do have some programs coming up. We have begun to work with our friends Junta across the street. They are looking to bring back some of the Know Your Rights workshops that used to be a feature that we would host here with them back pre-pandemic. The first one is coming up on December 21st, and I believe we have one scheduled also in January, so stay tuned for that. Also, we here are continuing our a couple of our programs that have been popular lately. You can bring your kids in to still find Sam. Sam is our Stegosaurus model. He and a lot of other really fun items came to us from the Peabody Museum's gift shop. When they closed, beginning the renovations a few years ago, we were the beneficiaries and the other libraries. And we've been hiding Sam to call attention to that program. The first kid who finds him here in the library will have an opportunity to do a little library challenge after that. And when you complete that, you get a really cool item that would have been for sale in the past at the Peabody Museum. So we follow our flyers, and we will tell the next times that Sam is going to go into hiding. Just want to also just very quickly highlight a couple of our other events that have been ongoing but have been pretty popular. I believe our great volunteer Susan Hackett is here tonight. She has been for years running our English Conversation Club. It's a casual, informal group that meets each Wednesday from 4 to 6. You can stop in briefly, you can stay the whole time, but it's people just practicing speaking English in a supportive environment. And we have one of our largest crowds, at least in my years here, yesterday from people around the globe, all just coming in to practice speaking English. So that's each Wednesday from 4 to 6. And then I lastly wanted to highlight our Stay and Play program, which is a bilingual story and activity and some playtime after that, that's held every Tuesday at 10:30. We one of the recent programs was actually captured in the arts paper, but with daycares coming in and individual families, we are now averaging on those Tuesday mornings 40, 50, 60. We had one recent one where there was over 70 kids and parents here. So join the crowd if you have a pre-K. It's Tuesdays 10:30 a.m. Right in the room. It's quite a bit louder, but it's right in the room right now where the community management team is going on. Hope to see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you, Kirk. Any questions in the room about anything that Kirk said? Any questions online? Oh, I see Dennis's hand is up. Dennis?
No, this is yours.
Oh, that's me.
Sure.
Oh, right. Hey, Dennis, I put your hand up for you. Sorry about that. Okay, so I don't see any questions. So moving on, we're going to move to the announcement section. let me tell you what's gonna go on for the next, about 5 minutes, we can get through this really quickly, but we got some food over here, we gotta take care of. So for the announcements, I have an announcement that I'd like to make about possibly winning a television, and if you have an announcement, as soon as I finish mine, raise your hand, either online or here in the room, and then we're gonna go quickly through the alders. Next month, 2 people who are with us, I think Carolyn is still with us, are gonna be alders for the respective wards, so they are aware of something, we'll give them an opportunity to speak as well, along with Alder Miller. But first, this announcement, so, Sarah won this television, we decided to give it to the management team, and it's about $500 LG television. You can see there it's 65 inches, and so we figured that one way to do this is by offering not a raffle, because that would be against the law, but a door prize for coming to the management team, so we could offer anyone on our mailing list that they can get a ticket for, I was thinking $10. And so you'd have a chance to win this television for just $10. But I'm not really good at these things, so I really want somebody, and not from the executive team, these folks are already doing a lot of work, but someone from the community online or in the room that would be willing to work with me so we can get some tickets printed up, sell some tickets, get hopefully, yeah, there you go, door prize, get hopefully at least $500, maybe even $1,000 for it. And is there anyone either online or in the room that would be willing to work with me so that for the fun of giving this television away to someone in our community? Any takers? Any takers online? I don't see anybody willing to work on a raffle. And oh, Shayla from Junta is willing to do that. Okay, so we'll talk and we'll figure it out, and hopefully this is going to get, you know, $500, $600, $700 for the management team. We wanted to do this because we can. We also wanted to be an example. If you have an opportunity to help the management team by doing something like this, that would be great. But also, it is December, it is the time of giving, so any of you are welcome, in addition to this, to make a contribution to the management team. We're not a nonprofit, so it's not tax deductible, but you're not gonna get a tax deduction anyway, even if we were a nonprofit, because nobody files their taxes that way anymore. But if you want to set yourself a deadline at the end of this month, speak to our treasurer, and let's get some money rolling in. And this is the money we use for what? For the activities that benefit our community, like supporting the Thanksgiving Day event that happened just a few weeks ago. Okay, with that said, and thanking Shayla once again for her willingness to work with me on this, we'll come back with a proposal.
I was gonna say, Eddie has also volunteered, so I think Eddie and Shayla are aware of one another, so they can also get together.
Wonderful. So, okay, so if you know, I don't know. Yeah, okay, we'll connect. Okay, so, any other announcements? Not the alders yet. Okay, we have an announcement in the room, Shayla from Junta.
Yeah, so I have like a flyer here.
To speak really loudly so that they can hear you. Yeah.
I have a flyer and as I'm doing for Fairhaven, if we get more funding, I could do it like open for New Haven, but we're doing our holiday drive. For Christmas, that we work with many clients, many new arrivals don't have income, so we want to help with this Christmas. And for Tres Reyes, that we're gonna do it, that is a Saturday this year, the 6th. We're planning on doing it at the Atwater Senior Center as well. So it's a good space, so we're planning to doing there, having live entertainment and food and just open, hopefully for the public. We have a school program with kids, and we have a partnership with Acting, which have high schoolers. So, we're trying, right now, we want to collect funding, not just for them, but to keep it open for the community. If we get, any support, we could, market it with your logo and you're supporting, us and as a community to collect funding and give out toys and the good, even activities. It could be an activity like the library come and join us and have different activity going on that day for the kids and family.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's make sure that we put contact information.
Yeah, she said her name is Shayla, last name and it's.
Shayla Serrano from Junta for Progressive
CHI.
Action. Also, I want to mention that we, so Junta is also working, we have a project manager, assisting the committee with Fairhaven Day. So, we're working, we'll soon share the date because we're still trying to see what date, but we also need support, sponsors, and it was a great event last year. We want to make it bigger, more sports, more activities, more vendors. So please join us, ask for information, email me. There's an email for Fairhaven Day at Gmail. You can email directly, and we're looking for support as well for that. Thank you.
Since we have the room, are there any other announcements in the room other than the Alder? Patty.
Hi, Patty Scussel, Mary Wade. On Friday, December 15th, we're actually gonna Pine Street close down and do a number of holiday activities in between 1 and 4. There's gonna be a holiday shop, sip and stroll at Chatham. Because there's gonna be food, some treats, some goodies. It is an event that you would have to RSVP to. So if anybody's interested, let me know. And also, if you want to support Mary Wade, we have a number of raffle baskets for in the lobby area at Mary Wade. So feel free to stop in and buy some raffle tickets. So
Thank you. Any other announcements in the room before we head to the Alder? Any announcements online before we head out to the Alders? I don't see anyone's hand raised. I'm not raising anyone's hand. Okay, so we're gonna go through the roll call of the Alders. Alder Cupo is not here. Alder Herrera is not here, but Alder-elect Redente is here. Is there? Huh?
Caroline.
Caroline.
Look, I'm working my way down. No, I'm sorry. You're right. I meant to say Carolyn because she'll be taking Ward 9. Carolyn, do you have any announcements or anything you'd like to share?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, no problem. No, I'm just so happy to be here. I remember my first Fairhaven Community Management Team meeting I ever went to. I think I was 19 when I think Sally was there and Lee and I think Lori Lopez was there. So anyway, it's just special to have been going to these for so many years. And I think just a couple, one thank you and then one update. So just thank you to everyone who came out for to volunteer at the cleanup at Monroe and Alton that Frankie and I organized a couple weeks back. The triangle at Monroe and Alton was totally transformed. I know neighbors have been working on that triangle for years. And so just thank you to everyone who came. And when we host future cleanups, we'll definitely continue to spread the word about them. But just thank you to everyone that came out. And then my only other update is I'll be at the beginning of the year announcing my office hours and any other community meetings that I'll be hosting. And so if you want to sign up for my newsletter, I'll put my email in the chat and you can just send me a note. I'll put my number as well. And I'll happy to add you to the newsletter. And also in the new year, I'll announce my office hours and where I'll be hosting them.
Great, thank you very much. And the Alder-elect should know that starting next month, your name will appear on our agenda along with your email and your phone number for people to contact you. Okay, so now we're going to go to Alder Miller, Ward 14.
Okay. So we have so much going on in Fairhaven right now. I don't even know where to begin. I'll just report on 2 things that relate to letters that the management team wrote. One happened today. You may recall a couple of months ago, the management team wrote a letter of support for pulling the liquor permit for Redente's package store. So we've had a team of people working on that and included Armando Ginaglia.
Well, they killed that name today.
Who is Abby's husband, who is an attorney with Wigan and Dana. Ana Juarez, who I think is on the screen. We had, Frank was involved, Lieutenant Fumiani was very involved. I feel like others have signed the petition. Junta did a letter. It's been a real, Lee was there today. So it's been a real community effort to try to tell the story of why this place is such a challenge for our community and why their liquor permit should not be renewed. We had the hearing today. It was supposed to be from 9:30 to 1. It went on until almost 5 o'clock. And we didn't even get through our side of the case because the lawyer, the package store hired a very good attorney who nevertheless, despite being a good attorney, really didn't have that much to fall back on because we have such a strong case. So there's a lot of procedural games to delay. And one wrench that was thrown into it, because I just have to give her an enormous amount of credit, our attorney, who wasn't acting as even though he is an attorney, he wasn't acting as our attorney because of a technicality related to that confusion about his role. He was not allowed to do the questioning. So Ana Juarez, who was the other agent for the remonstrance, the people who filed the initial petition, was on the spot required to do all the questioning herself. Are you on there, Ana? Are you listening to this? Okay. She was just amazing. Yeah. So if you don't know her, look for her. If you know her, when you see her, give her a big hug. It's really amazing. Also put up with some very ridiculous questions.
You're a very patient man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So anyway, so I was just really proud of our community today. It will be, the hearing will be continued to probably 2 more dates in January. So we don't have a resolution yet, but we have a very strong case and a very organized and empowered community that was like on display in this meeting today. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm happy to answer any questions about that if people have any. But maybe I'll do my other quick report first, which is some very good news, which is the management team also a few months ago wrote a letter of support for a grant that my employer, where I work in my day job with Clifford Beers, put into the U.S. Department of Education to implement a full service community schools model in Fairhaven. You may recall we did this like 2 years ago and didn't get it, and then we put it in again this year, and we found out about 2 weeks ago that we got it. So it's $2.5 million over 5 years for our schools, and it's to put and there's many of the organizations that are on the call are part of it. The library is part of the partnership. Junta is part of the partnership. The police department is not yet. We'll get him involved. The organization Frank works for, like PAL, this program, that will get them involved. It's really to create a partnership structure to coordinate all the programs and services that touch children and families in Fairhaven. And we'll start with a focus on Fairhaven School next school year, and then expand to Fame School in the next school year. So there's dollars for that coordination function, as well as for additional resources, academic intervention, as well as recreation. So it's very exciting, and there'll be lots of opportunities for people to weigh in on what you think should be involved, even if you don't have kids, even if you have nothing to do with the schools. I think we have a lot of resources throughout the community that we can try to knit into this structure. So that's my other update. And if people have any questions about those things or anything else, I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, so we're gonna, I don't see anybody's hand up. Okay, so Alder Santiago is not here today. I think that we should put in the minutes that he's gonna end his term as Alder. So we should officially in our minutes thank him for his service. And but Alder-elect Renate is here. Do you have any quick comments you'd like to make?
I really don't have anything to add, other than to thank the same people Caroline thanked for the cleanup. It was the first one we were able to get off since Sarah did hers on Front Street because of the weather. Hopefully we'll get some more in soon. Also really grateful to be working alongside Caroline and Sarah on a number of projects. If we can, put my contact info in the chat and my email address. I'm working on a number of community projects. and fielding emails already from people in the ward. So if you have an issue or a problem that you feel needs my attention, please feel free to reach out to me. You can copy Alder Santiago if you'd like, but I'm probably the one who's gonna get it done.
Okay, and starting next month, we'll update the list of alders. And with that, we are going to conclude this meeting. I'm gonna call for a motion to conclude our meeting.
I move to close the meeting.
Okay, Mary Ann moves, a second. Second by Gina, and we don't need to vote because it's to close the meeting. Thank you very much for those of you who are online. Think about the cake and the fruit you're missing. Thank you for happy holidays. Okay.
It is the
Please,
first time.
we have fresh fruit.
And thank you, Lee, for freshmen.
We have fresh fruit, and we have
All right, have a good night, everyone, and run to the library in the next 25 minutes if you want fruit and cake.
Attention, please.